Hello and welcome back to Nerd News Today Toy Fair 2021. Now, last year at New York Toy Fair, we checked out a company who made their debut, essentially. They've been around for a while, but made their Toy Fair debut. Today, we're lucky because we're going to still chat with Hero Collector. We've got Chris Thompson from Hero Collector today to talk with us about all the new products coming out from those guys. So, Chris, how's it going?
Good. Thanks for having me back, Matt. It's a pleasure to chat with you again. And obviously, we've done a bit of video stuff last year, and yeah, in an ideal world, we would have been doing it in person again, followed by some, adult drinks afterwards. But instead, we're in our respective homes, which I guess doesn't, discount having adult drinks after at least.
No, we still kill. You can. For you, it's the evening. For me, it's like 10 in the morning. So maybe I shouldn't, but well, we'll see how this interview goes.
I don't think there's anyone there to judge you, so it's all right.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So yeah, as we mentioned last year, that was the inaugural debut of Hero Collector at Toy Fair. But you guys have been around for quite some time, done a lot of stuff. So yeah, you guys had such a great presentation last year, and it's so disappointed that I can't get to do it again in person because for a lot of folks last year, it was like their first time learning about Hero Collector as well.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it was exciting just to be able to sort of show people as well. It was, we had a great display case with kind of some of our greatest hits, along with here's new stuff that you've never seen before, we haven't shown anywhere else. And we really, we sort of put it all out there in the best possible way for our debut New York Toy Fair. So in our minds, 2020 was going to be this incredible year of getting out there more and then following up with, our what do you guys call it? The sophomore appearance, at New York Toy Fair this year. And of course, little did we know that a month later the world would entirely change and we would suddenly go to working from home and every show would be virtual.
And that's a big thing that was kind of the talk of Toy Fair last year too with everybody was what the heck's going to happen to us. So, how would
Mm.
you say that the pandemic has affected business for Hero Collector?
I would say, we were positioned quite well, in the sense that we already have our own sort of e-commerce channels set up directly so people can buy just direct from us and get everything. So obviously there was a little bit of a slowing down of our product releases. I wouldn't say slowing down so much as things were delayed. It never slows down. It was just that everything got delayed just a little bit, but the flow of it still kept coming through. So it was all still happening, all still getting there. So for example, the Marvel heavyweights, I think we'd been wanting to get them out sort of by April, May, and it ended up being more May, June. It was kind of that month gap for different things. But, it didn't hamper those efforts. And certainly, we'd made such a good effort with retailers at New York Toy Fair, here in the UK at Birmingham Spring Fair. So all of that still went ahead and the retail placements happened. And if anything, they were all going to e-commerce as well. So I think this really just highlighted the fact that people are buying online, and especially people working from home. They want to surround themselves with nice things, that things they identify with that make them feel good. So if anything, our figurines, our ships, our collectibles were the perfect desk ornaments for this new at-home setup people were having to create.
Absolutely. I've seen a lot of folks do that actually, especially talking Star Trek. I'm in many, many Facebook groups for that, and I'm seeing your ships pop up way more often than they did previous years. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of just becoming more and more known. We're part of the landscape in that area, but still, there's new people finding it. And yeah, more people going, well, I'm at home, I can't spend money on going out. That, I was going to go back to their stand at Comic-Con or wherever and buy something this time. And they've just gone online and they've done it anyway. And, hopefully people have nicer surroundings as a result.
So, Chris, let's jump into some of the new stuff for Hero Collector. And just last week, you guys made this really big announcement, surprise announcement too. You guys are starting now the Marvel Museum line. So, if you tell us
Yes.
what's the deal at Marvel Museum?
Okay, so actually, it's it's broader than that. It's the Hero Collector Museum range. With this, it's a concept that we're bringing in that will apply to other things eventually. But we're starting off with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And so what we're doing, essentially, they're sort of prop replicas. So you're going to get things like Cap's shield, Thor's hammer, Iron Man's helmet, Black Panther's mask, and Thanos's Infinity Gauntlet. And the idea is that these are all sort of 6 to 8 inch sort of tall collectibles that come on a stand. They're designed to sort of be nice display pieces. So they're not in scale as such. They're more sort of in scale to one another in that you could display them all along, say, a bookshelf at a nice consistent size together. They make a beautiful set. So at the moment, we've just released the individual photography, but we have some really lovely sort of group and lifestyle shots being done with the full collection. And so that's the first wave of those. The big news with them, I think, and certainly with establishing us as more and more of a player, is that those are going into Walmart. So they'll be debuting there. So excellent work by Matt Buss, who you know, on making that happen. And then from there, we'll be taking them out to specialty retail. In the UK, we'll have them in HMV. They'll be available in comic shops. And as I've mentioned before, all of our stuff is available on our own e-commerce channels. So, it's always possible to get it, even when, events and normal things aren't happening as they would.
And I should definitely congratulate you guys on getting into Walmart, because that is a huge deal, especially for a company like Hero Collector to break through to Walmart. And really, that's like tapping in directly to the American market. So yeah, congrats on that.
Yeah, no, it feels incredible. And I mean, even with that, just putting that news out there, it really blew up online. We were able to debut that with IGN. So even sort of the press avenues we're taking are just so much bigger and grander, whether it be, last year we dropped the news of the heavyweights on the Hollywood Reporter. This year, dropping this with IGN. It's ramping up everything we're doing.
Yeah, it's very exciting. Now, I got to poke and prod you a little bit about this too, because you mentioned that there's a possibility of other lines. So are we talking like maybe one day Harry Potter wand, Star Trek phaser? Is that the kind of thing we might see in this line?
I mean, that's the kind of thing you would see, not necessarily to speak to those licenses or exact pieces, but certainly that's kind of the concept, yes. And if you think of the broad scope of what we've got, I mean, I could imagine that some Star Trek replicas would be amazing. But then we have things like, the license for Bethesda. So maybe having some, Fallout relics or artifacts would also be something that would be incredible. Something from Elder Scrolls, that sort of thing.
Yeah, doors are wide open. So yeah, good luck with that. I cannot wait to see where that one continues. That's exciting. So
Yeah.
beyond that, you guys also mentioned Marvel Heavyweights, and that was something that debuted last year at Toy Fair. So how's that line been going for you guys? And what's the plan for 2021 with Marvel Heavyweights?
All right. So that is, that's coming along quite nicely. I think we must be getting close to about 14 figures at this stage, or at least 14 announced. We've been bringing them through as waves, but there's also been individual pieces coming up. The timing of this is good because I can tell you about the latest one that we have just revealed, literally just now, which is the Thanos one, and that's actually oversized. So you would have seen the heavyweights last year. Thanos is sort of one size bigger again. And therefore means even heavier. And he looks incredible. So the line is coming along really nice. That's been available in Hot Topic. It's been available at, comic shop retail, loads of places actually. And that's one that we're actually going to be introducing into the UK and Europe, because that had been a US only product. So we're expanding the range of that, which is also incredible and exciting.
So that's the news on the Marvel side of things. But you guys, of course, handle many other licenses. And regarding comic licenses, you guys also do some work with DC. So is DC going to be continuing to work with you guys as well?
Yes, there will be some new stuff with that we can't really talk about at the moment. Sadly, this is a little bit too early for that. But I do hope to sort of have some more news on that later in the year. It's a shame, like over in the UK and Europe, we have an ongoing publishing program with them where you can either get by subscription or individually a great series of DC graphic novels. There's the DC graphic novel collection. There's also the Legend of Batman collection. So certainly in spreading the comic side of things, we're doing a lot of that in the UK and Europe. But I think globally, there's some exciting stuff coming up with that we want to get to.
Now, for you viewers out there who are regular watchers of this channel and who listen to the Trek Untold podcast, you'll know that we interviewed Ben Robinson a little while ago for that podcast. And we talked about some of the different Hero Collector Star Trek products. And here's a little fun fact for you guys that you might not know, is I actually had asked about this product, I think a week or two before they announced it. I had to kind of recut the episode and rejigger it and deal with it later on. But yeah, the whole thing here is you guys are releasing a enormous scale replica of the Enterprise D from Star Trek Next Generation. and that's
Yes.
amazing. So, how is that going? Has that officially come out yet, or are we still just doing pre-orders for that now?
Do you know what? They're just getting ready to ship. So I think at the moment they're going to be, people should be sort of receiving their first set either the end of this month or the beginning of March. Yeah, yeah. So it's the tail end of that. So if people are wanting to jump on, then there's still time. The beauty with this as well is that it will be something that people can jump in at any point in time. So, you know, if it gets to 5, 6 months down the track and you've just heard about it, or you go, hey, you know, my circumstances don't allow now, but in summer I know things are going to be better, then you can start at that point and just follow along. And you can either try to catch up on some, or just, you know, follow it at the same rate you normally would have. But that one is super exciting because yeah, that's been worked on for so very, very long, and gone through sort of many prototypes and stages to the point where we're happy with it. And even, you know, we've got pictures of a finished prototype, but actually there's still developments being made. So the actual finished thing that people are going to build is sort of one step up again. And it's quite amazing because we've had to do things like, you know, rebuild and reinforce the stand that it's going to ultimately sit on, because it's just such a hefty thing. You know, there's so many die cast elements to it. There's so much. I mean, it's impressive. That one's a super exciting one to have coming out. That the reception to that has been huge, and I can't wait to, you know, be seeing the videos of everyone putting their own together. There's so many people that want to build it and share it, and I'm all for that.
Yeah, I think impressive is an understatement because that thing is just gorgeous. It's amazing. I'm so glad you guys are doing that. And it's in the vein of, again, you guys did an Ecto 1 that's similarly that large. I think you guys did an Aston Martin from the James Bond series. And just to be
Yeah.
clear, is it too late to jump onto any of those products as well?
So the Ecto One you can still jump onto, as well as the DeLorean from Back to the Future, and we've just recently revealed, or I think started actually, especially in the US, the build the Eleanor from Gone in 60 Seconds. So the Mustang. So, you know, if you're a bit more of a gear and muscle head, then, you know, that's a great one to jump onto. One thing I didn't mention with the Enterprise D, which is worth hitting on, is the fact that the sources section actually separates. And so you can have your sort of sources section and then the cells separate, and they each still light up, and all of that works when they're independent as well, which is incredible. Like seeing that happen, you know, you can't automate it. It's not like you press a button and they separate and the ship flies off, but you know, just the fact you can do it looks incredible.
That's still some pretty slick Starfleet engineering right there. So yeah, hats
Yeah.
off to doing that too. And so on that note too, you guys I think are very well known for your Star Trek starships. And now obviously we can't name every single thing in the line because you guys have so much. But I know this year in 2020, you guys are planning to kind of make some changes to the series. So like the initial line, if you will, had ended, but now you're continuing in a
Yeah.
different direction, but more ships. So what are the plans for the starships?
Yeah, I guess to break that down so people sort of understand. So we did our you know, collection that seemed to run forever and finished with the long-awaited bulk cube, which everyone had been sort of waiting for, and that was in sort of what we call our smaller or classic scale. And I know a lot of people were fans of that. And we used to put out what we called bonus ships, and we referred to them that way because they were essentially bonuses to the subscription. That kind of terminology stuck. So in that sense, we will continue to offer actually new bonus ships that will cover some of the ones that people had sort of requested and missed in the main collection, and for those who still want to get them at the you know, classic size. We've also got the Star Trek Online ships, which are continuing. So we've announced that there'll be up to 20 of them at this stage, and they're also in that classic size. Um, we had been running a series of Star Trek Discovery ships, and that was available as a subscription or to just buy individually. So you could get that through retail stores as well as through us directly. And we're rebranding that as the Star Trek Universe collection. And it's going to encompass all the live action Star Trek series that are now, you know, out there and available. So it's going to take in Picard ships, Discovery, you know, season 3, as well as ones that we'd missed previously, Strange New Worlds, and others as they, sort of start to unveil them and announce more. So that's pretty exciting. And we're kicking off with a whole range of ships from Picard. So in April, we're starting off with the La Serena, and then going into the Zhanghe in the month after. And so essentially they will be on roughly a monthly sort of schedule. And so you'll get one new one of those a month. So if people had been subscribed to the Discovery collection, this is a new collection to subscribe to, but takes its place. And then that collection will include, Discovery ships as and when we get to them. So you'll be seeing some of the new ones from season 3, stuff like that. And they're all available individually from us and at retail.
Now, speaking of Discovery Season 3, I have to ask you guys, and Ben Robinson brought this up, but some of those ships, they got detached nacelles. They are some funky looking designs. How the heck are you going to tackle these?
It would be assumed that we would be tackling them. The logistics of that are still taking place, shall we say. But yeah, I guess, very much in the spirit of the $6 million man, we have the technology, we can build them. So where there's a will, there's a way, and there's certainly the will. So I think, you'll be seeing a lot of surprising things coming out and being announced. But again, I can't officially confirm or deny any of that at the moment. What I can mention as well that I didn't touch on is our XL ship line. In terms of the sizes, we've got sort of our classics size, which is the smaller ones. We've got, I don't think we've still decided on a name, but essentially it's our standard or regular size, which is the Discovery ship size. And then XL are larger again. And so, ships that have particular demand and really would come alive in that larger scale, we're giving them that treatment. So we're doing that for the La Serena. That's already been announced. So you can opt for a larger version of that as well. We're doing the Delta Flyer from Voyager. And that's quite cool because you've got Paris and Kim doing their own podcast talking about Voyager, which is called the Delta Flyers. So it's kind of cool to be able to bring out that ship, in the XL version. So there's a lot more XLs planned throughout the year as well. Certainly some exciting ones, even ones touching on maybe things that you've mentioned here, but that we can't get to announcing yet. So yeah, there's some good stuff coming down the pipeline.
Another one that I'm really excited for is the WWE license. You guys have been really kicking some butt with that. I guess pun intended there. I didn't even think about that. But yeah, I know you guys have teased some more WWE things. So WWE, that's continuing in 2021. What's going on with that license?
We're going to be concentrating a lot more on specials and sort of the combo packs with that. So, we've unveiled stuff like WrestleMania packs, some great retro stuff there. And I mean, particularly in the US, that one has really sort of taken off. Like it's finally hit its stride. I think we were doing amazing stuff with that from the beginning, and it was very quiet and people weren't seeing it. And now people have really cottoned on. And for me, as someone who was more of an old school wrestling fan and having grown up on, the original sort of WrestleManias, seeing us do those twin packs and things has been super exciting. It's scratched both my nostalgia itch and, as the guys on major wrestling figure podcasts say, scratch that figure itch. So it's kind of been doing both, which is nice. I think we have some exciting news coming on that stuff as well, and some more reveals. But as always, it's sort of timing. It's like, what can I say today? And it's like, I can't tell you that one yet.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So in addition to all the stuff we've also mentioned, you guys have a ton of other licenses. Off the top of my head, I know you guys have Doctor Who, of course, that's a big one. You've got Lord of the Rings. You've got Rick and Morty. A lot of big stuff here. So if you don't mind, you can kind of just run down what other brands that you got for 2021 and maybe a few of the highlights of figures you might be able to see this year.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, Doctor Who is a big one for us. So if you give me a minute to talk about that, because I could talk about Doctor Who all the time. I actually, with everything, I could talk about it all the time. But there's a lot we've announced there recently that we can touch on. So we did the Time Lord Victorious figurine sets, which tied into a massive storyline that was sort of overseen and orchestrated by the BBC, but involved all their various licensees. And so that was told through audio, through comics, through books. And as it turned out through our figurine collection, where we actually brought a whole bunch of the characters to life, as well as including an original story that comes in the magazine with each of these figurine sets. So there was 3 of them that have come out so far. The 4th set is coming in April, and that is the Time Lord Victorious himself, which is the 10th Doctor in his Gallifreyan robes with a character called Brian the Ood that everyone loves. Seeing that happen and having that come off is actually exciting, particularly exciting because that project is one I've known about for years. It's sort of come across where I was working on it at my previous company with Titan Comics. It's been so long in the pipeline. So for us to do something with that and see it through to fruition has been great. We're bringing out some great retro companion sets. So we've brought out the 3rd Doctor and the Unit Team, which are sort of classic for those who remember Doctor Who of the 70s or rediscovered it on DVD since. We're bringing out the 5th Doctor companion set that's just been announced. So that just keeps steamrolling on, and we're really excited about that. Rick and Morty, as you mentioned, was one that actually we were showing off at New York Toy Fair, but at that point in time was not available outside of the UK and Europe. So that's now been made available to the US. So you can get your Swifty fix with Rick and Morty over there now, which is super cool. I think following up on some things we announced as well. So at New York Toy Fair last year, we announced that we were doing the Eagle from Space 1999, which was going to be the first of our ships from the worlds of Jerry Anderson. And so certainly we haven't sort of spoken any more about that, but that is still coming on. And so you'll be looking at that around July this year. So like I was saying, COVID did delay things a little, but we're still seeing that. In the interim, we've announced the Expanse. So we have the license to do ships from the Expanse, which, to be honest, when we were at conventions, that was one of the things that was requested the most. Out of anything we didn't already have, it was definitely the thing that everyone came and asked for. So to be able to do that is great. You'll be seeing those later this year. And we sort of, I want to say soft announced Stargate actually at the end of last year during the Metaverse. And that announcement, I think, will be going out in a more official capacity and with more information shortly. But you can be expecting some Stargate ships from us as well, which is really exciting. Also from New York Toy Fair last year, we sort of soft announced, this happens a few times depending on approvals, the Bethesda license. And we followed up with a proper announcement for that. I think it was around March or April last year. And so we're going to be doing things from all of their various worlds. So from Fallout, Elder Scrolls, Doom, if it fits under the Bethesda umbrella, you can be expecting to see something. And I would say you could expect something this year. So the announcement for what that will be and specifically when is incoming. And for me as a big fan, it's particularly exciting. So I guess those are sort of the new ones and particular highlights that I would call out. But really, we've got so much going on. You could go, oh, what about this license? I'll be like, oh, yeah, because when you're dealing just with so many properties, keeping them all in your head and the timelines of like, oh, right, we had announced that. Oh, hang on, we didn't. It's there's a jumble going on, and I'm often living, in mentally sort of next year or at least at the end of this year.
So obviously there were no conventions last year, and the possibility of conventions this year towards the end of the year maybe still up in the air kind of thing. But we
Yeah.
know some companies have done a few con exclusives, and I'm curious if Hero Collector will be doing any sort of con exclusives as well this year.
We are actually talking about that. Yes. So I think the latter part of the year, you could be looking at something along those lines that would be timed around when a convention that we would be at might be happening later in the year. So yes, I think you could expect to see some of that, and certainly there's a few little things that might be able to be some nice additions, unexpected little things we can do, and yeah, there is a nice little project for around then that I'm aiming for as well, and if we can pull that off, it will be a sort of something that we do that's sort of a cross promotion and an exclusive at the same time.
Well, I'm sure if you say anything else, you're going to be pushed out of the airlock, so we'll leave it at that. But just one other question too about some of the Hero Collector products. Now, you guys do a
Yeah.
lot of figurines as well. We talked about the WWE figurines. You've got some Ghostbusters,
Yes.
other things like that. So, has there ever been any plans or thought into making dioramas to display these pieces in? Like, just imagine a WWE ring or like the Bridge of the Enterprise, something like that.
These things are often brought up and discussed, and there's various reasons why they don't always happen or why they haven't happened yet, but it is an ongoing discussion. And certainly, I guess, as a tease, but not to say anything specific, there's also been sort of talk about dioramas where it might be more like a set or a location that perhaps is not to go with any figurine set, but is purely for its own value as a diorama or set or location that you might expect some news on something like that later in the year as well.
Interesting, interesting. Well, we'll have to look forward to that news coming up whenever that happens. So, in addition, of course, to all the Starships, folks know you guys too for your amazing books. I know you got one on D Space Nine that's about to come out, and you also do a lot of gift products. We saw it last year at Toy Fair. You guys showed off like the Harry Potter cookie cutters, Harry Potter yarn kits. I know that now is also a Star Trek mixology set. So, in terms of things that are not as much toys and things that are more like gifts, what can you tell us about those products? Are there more of those things planned along the way? And of course, there's always more books. So if you want to tell us about any highlights, please feel free to about that too, because wonderful books.
Oh yeah. So well the book range continues. So we do the illustrated handbooks. So we have one of those that's just come out for Deep Space Nine. There's illustrated handbooks. There are what we call the shipyard books that look behind the scenes specifically at the various ships that sort of populate certain series and eras of the show. Those will be continuing. We're doing one of the shipyard books for Battlestar Galactica. So that's sort of an ongoing program. In the last year, we've launched what we call our Nerd Search books, which are, I want to say they're a little bit like Where's Wookie? So in the sense of you're looking for particular things in them, and they're genre themed, but it's also a little bit less of a here's something to give to a kid to keep them occupied. And it's more like if you're a big fan of this, we've thrown a whole bunch of continuity errors and Easter eggs and things into a scene. We want to see if you can find them all. It's sort of like show us how big a fan you are, how into this minutia are you, and what are you going to pick out. So we've done that for Star Trek and Ghostbusters. We have it planned for other licenses as well. Certainly, yeah, stuff that we should be announcing imminently, I hope. Because, yeah, one of those will be a completely new license and an area for us. So that's quite exciting. As you mentioned, the Star Trek cocktail book, I got very excited about that one. And actually, one of my favorite mixologists from the bar in Paris that I normally go to is one of two people that contributed recipes to that book. So it kind of started with him and his recipes, and we had another London-based mixologist to add some to the mix as well. And it's quite a shame because obviously the book's come out and I haven't had a chance to go back over to see him. So I need to go and take his copies to him to be like, hey, it's here. But to supplement that, we have a cocktail set coming out, and basically it's all beautifully Star Trek branded. It looks amazing. That is due to drop any day now, and I'm really waiting to get a set myself so I can be have all the right implements to try all the recipes from the book. We brought out Mr. Spock's Little Book of Mindfulness by Glenn Dakin, which is just taking all the great, philosophical, thoughtful, wonderful advice and quotes that Spock shares throughout the show, and brought to life in these cute illustrations by Glenn. And so the book program is, a huge part of what we do that can often sort of get overlooked when you think of the ships and all these other things. So there's more of that. We did Ghostbusters: The Inside Story, which is essentially your guide to the making of the original films. And with Afterlife being delayed, but still coming up and really drawing inspiration from those first two films, I think being able to look at something like The Inside Story to remind you of it all, but also to learn those things that really haven't been talked about much before, it's quite exciting.
Yeah, the books are amazing deep dives. You guys do such great work on all of those. So yeah, cannot recommend those highly enough either. So Chris, I have one very last, very important question, possibly the most important question of this interview, because I forgot to ask it at the start of the interview. Chris, what was your favorite toy as a kid growing up?
Oh God. I have two that always spring to mind with this. No, actually, I'm going to lie. I'm going to say three. Um, the Sesame Street Clubhouse. I had that as a kid with the little, Fisher Price figures, and I loved it to death. And in fact, I loved it where it didn't die. I looked after it beautifully, and when I had nephews. I passed it on to them to play with, not realizing that other kids would be destructive and horrible with things, and they absolutely trashed it. So I had preserved this even from being a small kid, and they wrecked it. It's gone. I keep looking at on eBay, and one day I'm going to buy, one to replace it.
No good deed
Uh,
goes unpunished.
exactly. It's like if I'd only known. Uh, the other thing is my Stretch Armstrong.
Ooh,
I had one of those, which I loved dearly, and again looked after well. I also had, there was like a green snake version they brought out of that, and apparently that's worth ridiculous money. And I don't know what happened to mine. And the third thing I have to mention, and it was just as a general line, is I was obsessed with the Star Wars Kenner figures. From the beginning, and certainly now with Hasbro bringing out this Star Wars vintage collection, not to plug someone else, but I love them, and so, in addition to having our toys all around my house, I have a whole bunch of these vintage collection figures that tie me back to that person I was and who I am now.
those are all some excellent choices, excellent toys. So, Chris, for anybody out there who wants to follow Hero Collector, get updates and all the stuff that you guys have already announced and all the things that you haven't yet, where can they go to do that?
On Twitter and Instagram, we are at Hero Collector _. So just make sure you've got the underscore at the end. On Facebook, we're just there as Hero Collector. You can look on herocollector.com, which is our website. It's actually a great sort of pop culture news portal as well. So we cover a lot of licenses that we work on, but we try to cover outside of that as well to make it a little bit more of a destination. And then shop.eaglemoss.com. If you want to be able to buy our stuff direct from us, you can find it there. But as we're saying, you can now find us in Walmart, in HMV, in comic shops, in all these other places. So you'll be spoiled for choice as to where and how to find us, in a physical, sense. But yeah, online, that's where you'll hit us.
So everybody go follow Hero Collector. And yeah, once again, congratulations on the Walmart deal. That's such a big, big thing. I mean, you guys are really blowing up in 2021. And this is, keep in mind, during a pandemic, and you guys are making it into Walmarts. That's amazing.
It really is. I mean, yeah, it's so much power to Matt Buss, who is just, such a great representative for the company. I kind of, I miss the fact that at New York Toy Fair, we were able to be this great double act together, and we're sort of separated by the ocean and the pandemic and life at the moment. But yeah, I'm optimistic that in 2022 we'll reunite that sort of double act and be hitting all the cons and really just building on all the great things of these last couple of years to continue and forge ahead.
I look forward to seeing that very much. I look forward to seeing you guys both at New York Toy Fair 2022. So,
Indeed.
on behalf of Matt Buss and Ben Robinson, too, Chris Thompson, thank you so much for just chatting with us about all the new Hero Collector products. A lot of great stuff. Everybody go follow them and stick around because there's more Nerd News Today Toy Fair 2021 coming right up.
Thank you.